stay open until 10 p.m.
All right, haven't heard back from Universal Orlando yet about their plans for reopening. The park did shut down in phases today, and we expect it to reopen tomorrow at some point, but we don't know. They haven't made their new plan. Of course, they're probably waiting for the storm to go through. As soon as we hear anything new, of course, we'll pass it along to you and post it on the Fox 35 News app.
And precautions are in place at SeaWorld to make sure all of the animals there at that park will stay safe during the storm. The park says it plans to reopen on Friday, so it will be closed tomorrow. Customers who bought tickets for today and tomorrow will be able to use them any day through the rest of the year.
And Orlando International Airport is closed at this hour. Same situation in Sanford, Daytona, and Melbourne. All those airports are going to remain closed. Now, as soon as we get word on when the flights are going to resume, we'll let you know tomorrow morning as well, because we're going to have some big-time backups as they try and get everybody here and everybody who's here back home. So there's going to be some big-time delays.
Yeah, a live look right now at Flagler Beach. The waves are really ripping out there. That is a look at the pier, which was damaged during Hurricane Ian. It's hard to see, but the waves are really picking up. You can see all the white caps. I know Connor Hansen was out there earlier. He said the waves are nearly 20 feet in some areas. We have much more breaking coverage tracking Hurricane Nicole right after a quick break.
Fox 35 News starts now, tracking the tropics.
And welcome to our continuing coverage here of Tracking Nicole. It's midnight here in Central Florida, and Fox 35 continues to track the hurricane, already bringing a lot of rain, heavy wind gust, and a dangerous storm surge to our area. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm John Brown.
And I'm Ray Vieva. We're about an hour away from the storm making landfall. Let's get right over to Brooks and Ian in the Fox 35 Storm Center. What are you guys seeing right now, guys?
We've got a brand new update on its position. Its fix as it makes its way ashore over the next hour or two. You know, Ian and I have been tracking the latest on this, and the rapidly deteriorating conditions. That's the most important part of this story, because we've had a lot of preamble, a lot of stuff kind of previewing what's coming our way, but at the end of the day, it's just been wind and rain. But we're about to get some actual hurricane conditions working into our viewing area. So without further ado, let's get down to the nuts and bolts. Winds of Hurricane Nicole at 75 miles an hour. It is moving west-northwest at 13 miles per hour. So that's going to put it right into either Indian River County or St. Lucie County inside of the next 2 hours. And from there, it will start its work pushing inland. This is going to be a very quick-hitting storm once those conditions onset. By 7 in the morning, it could be located right over southeastern Polk County, or it could be located over Osceola County, and then after that, pushing into either Orange County or up toward the Gulf Coast. That said, it's a very big storm with a very big wind field, so it doesn't really matter the exact track of where this is going. We're going to have much the same impacts, with a push of tropical storm force winds leading to hurricane force wind gusts for a period of several hours tomorrow morning. First on the coast between about 1 a.m. and as late as about 5 or 6 a.m. for the worst of it, and then it works inland, bringing Orlando the worst weather from between about 4 a.m. to roughly 8 a.m. before things start getting better after lunchtime. Let's talk about specifics on that timing. At the coast, the onset of the worst weather at 1 a.m., so inside of an hour from now. We're talking Brevard County specifically. It will peak between 3 a.m. and 7 a.m. That's the peak winds where you'll hear the howling through the trees and maybe even up into the rafters of the house. Winds sustained over 60 miles an hour. It dissipates after 9 a.m. Okay, over in the Orlando area, you know, away from the coast, once you get into the city region, onset of the worst at 5 a.m. It'll peak between 6 and 9 a.m., and we expect conditions to improve after 11 a.m. That's very good news as far as the duration. It's not going to be a long duration event, but let's talk about some impacts for that. We've got Fox 35 Storm Team meteorologist Ian Cassette. Ian, take us through county by county to talk about when the impacts hit and also when we can expect things to get better.
Yeah, I'm sure some are wondering, okay, we know there's going to be a hurricane here. We know it's going to make landfall, but when is it going to actually get better? When can we go outside? Well, through tonight, you're not going to go outside. Absolutely not. And across our area, you're going to stay hunkered down, because that's the best thing for you to do for your safety. And in Brevard County, I'm definitely urging you to be safe tonight, and hopefully you're watching us from the comfort of your home and you're staying safe. But it's gonna get rough tonight in Brevard County, or at least in Orange County. In Brevard County, we're gonna have some strong winds. In Orange County, we're looking at a peak time of 5 a.m. to 9 a.m. So this is likely going to be at its worst early on in the morning hours. So just before sunrise and just after sunrise, that is when we are likely to see the strongest winds, the heaviest rain, a very strong hurricane, or not a strong hurricane, but severe conditions expected by then. And winds that could gust up to 75 miles per hour. So hurricane force wind gusts are possible. Farther to the west, though, in Lake County, what we're looking at there is about the same. Peak time, 5 to 9 a.m. in the morning, maybe a little bit longer than that, but those gusts up to 70 miles per hour. We are under tropical storm warnings here. If you live along the coast, if you live in Brevard County, you live in Volusia County, this timing is going to be a little bit earlier overall. So the peak time for, if you're in Brevard County, if you're to the south and you're Melbourne, you're probably looking at it to be the worst between about 1 a.m. all the way to about 5 a.m. So you're going to experience some winds, some gusts that could be the strongest gusts you've seen in a while, 85 mile per hour wind gusts, and we've seen power outages, Brooks. I've already seen some video of transformers blowing down to the south in Indian River County. And again, you mentioned the canary in the coal mine. We know those conditions are likely going to be felt here.
Well, here's what's going on. We've got the eye wall now about to approach Port St. Lucie. And so this thing's from Jupiter to Port St. Lucie. This is where the heart of the wind is. All this stuff out ahead of it, the torrential rains, there is some wind here. We're seeing those gusts up to 65 miles per hour. But the hurricane itself is down here. It's within this outer eye wall, and that's what will be pushing in over the next several hours. So it's upon us at this point. A wind gust of 63 in Titusville in the last hour, only about 30 miles per hour in Orlando, but that is going to pick up as the storm approaches. We've got big waves out there as well. So with our high tide approaching tomorrow morning at about 9 a.m., we're going to see a lot of this action pushing ashore, a huge wingspan of this thing. This is only, I say only in quotes, a Cat 1, but it's going to have a storm surge, and it's going to have implications on the beach resembling a much bigger hurricane. By tomorrow morning, as the gusts come ashore, this is our exclusive Fox model. This was absolutely clutch for Hurricane Ian, forecasting accurately the location and the wind gusts. This is forecasting the max winds to be approaching through 4 a.m., Melbourne, Titusville, Kissimmee, and then pushing northwestward after that. We're going to see conditions improving on the beaches after about 7 a.m., but they'll just start going downhill pretty quickly here in Claremont about the same time as you head west. So this is going to be a relatively quick onset and also a quick finish. We're essentially looking at about a 6-hour-long hurricane in any location where you see those peak winds that could easily knock out power. By far, Nicole will be remembered for its coastal impacts, and we're not going to really know the full force of what has happened until the light of day tomorrow morning. But we've got to watch out for that high tide close to 9 a.m. tomorrow. That'll be the next big tide already on the Indian River. As we approach low tide around 2 in the morning, we're seeing overlap, wind-blown water pushing ashore in a legit storm surge. So once the tide goes up, it could go up 5 feet above normal. We're going to have some big problems at the break of light tomorrow morning. All right, Ray and John, we'll send it back your way.
All right, thanks a lot, fellas. Well, curfew now in effect for Volusia County. It's going to stay in place until 7 a.m. Also, mandatory evacuation is also in place for everyone east of the Intracoastal Waterway. Flagler County also issued a mandatory evacuation order for people living along the coast as well. Meanwhile, residents living in 6 oceanfront condos there in Daytona Beach shores were asked to evacuate as the coastal erosion has raised fears of a building collapse. It's getting scary over there, Ray.
It is. Fox 35's Valerie Boyd joins us live in Daytona Beach shores. And Valerie, you've been there all evening. Crews are prepared to go to rescue.
They certainly are. In fact, right now I am at one of the condos here. I'm using this wall for protection, but we want to show you a night shot of what it looks like out there closer to the water. It's kind of hard. Javier is walking there. You can see the beach safety building in the darkness. That's where part of the building had collapsed, and that's why they're so concerned about the building next door too collapsing as well because of the seawall collapsing. The winds are so strong. In fact, you could see the wind gusts out there in the lot. It's real hard to stand. I will tell you, we have seen law enforcement out here periodically just driving around. And as earlier this evening, we were out on the water rescue vehicle, and they just came back, just again making sure that the area isn't flooding. I'm going to walk back here to the wall where again it's a little easier to stand. So here in Daytona Beach shores, we have 12 buildings deemed unsafe, and that's why deputies were out earlier this evening going door to door. They were telling people to leave, and people did. They left. There was about only 2 of them that the sheriff said didn't leave. He can't understand that because he said he was really concerned about the building collapsing. So it is certainly a big, big concern over by Wilbur by the Sea. 22 homes are of unsafe conditions, and earlier today I actually was talking to the county manager. He says that they're trying to protect the seawall by putting rocks in front of it and protect the homes there from collapsing. So we're going to be monitoring this all night long. We did actually talk to a resident earlier this evening before the wind started getting really, really strong. This is what she had to say.
This is kind of surreal. I come to the beach almost every weekend, and it's really sad to see what's happening, especially after Ian.
And again, the curfew takes place till 7 o'clock in the morning. We're going to be out here and see if the winds get even stronger as the night goes longer. Back to you guys.
All right, Valerie, thank you. Just down the road in New Smyrna Beach, the city deemed 2 condo buildings unsafe. We're talking about these 2 oceanfront buildings at Las Brisas condominiums on Hill Street. Officials say the dune is washing up to within 10 feet of the structure. New Smyrna Beach police helped residents evacuate. The Fox 35 Storm Team Thunder truck is on the road tracking conditions in Brevard.
Yeah, they're heading south towards the eye of the hurricane, which is coming on shore in just about less than an hour at this point. And Fox 35's Dave Puglisi joins us there in the truck. So, Dave, you're getting some rain, feeling the wind as well now, huh?
Yeah, John, it's really picked up here. As you've all seen the maps that Ian and Brooks have been putting out. We're basically right in that eye wall. We're here in Melbourne, right across from Satellite Beach. Let me give you a view of what we're seeing right here. And I chose this parking lot because it's pretty well lit. And so because of that, you can see that these trees are really starting to bend. You can see the wind picking up the rain in the parking lots. At times, it gusts pretty hard, and we start to feel the truck lift up a little bit. And that's pretty impressive because the Thunder truck weighs about 9,500 pounds. So you're talking some significant winds to be able to do that. Just off into the distance in front of us is the Pinedas Causeway here. This is now closed. They've just shut this down, as they've done with all the causeways going through here, which is another big moment because they were open not too long ago. We started to cross it by accident. And as we started to go over it, we felt the Thunder truck get pushed quite a bit. We tried to turn around as quickly as we could to get back. Once the winds got to about 35, 45 miles per hour sustained, they shut those down. So we're going to get a little bit closer, though. We're going to get closer down to the water, get closer down to Satellite Beach, as close as we can without going across, to give you an idea of what this is looking like as it comes across. Again, we're less than an hour from it making landfall, and it's going to be coming right at us. So you're going to want to stay with us the rest of the morning to see just what this storm looks like, because we're going to be in it, and the Fox 35 Storm Team Thunder truck is going to be taking it all in. So that's the latest out here in Melbourne. Dave Puglisi, Fox 35 News.
All right, thanks a lot, David. We know it's scary going across those bridges with that kind of weather. And what they said, Volusia County shuts them down at 39 miles per hour. So, again, if you don't have to be out there.
And if it's picking up the Thunder truck, then you know things are serious.
All right, of course, wind, rain moving through Volusia County right now. And there's Christy Kern with us once again.
Christy, you're at the Riverwalk Park, and the water's starting to rise, right?
Yeah, Nicole is definitely getting closer, and it's really obvious because the wind and the rain is really picking up here. Go ahead, take a look at the water here. This is the Halifax River. It is pushing right onto the pavement here at the park that we're at. This has been going on since we've been here for probably about 30 or 45 minutes or so. When I talked to you guys last time, just maybe 20 minutes ago, my AirPod actually came flying out of my ear. I had to pick it up off the ground. Thankfully, I was able to get it. So that's just how strong the wind is. Again, if you look across the way, that is Daytona Beach shores across from us, where a lot of people have been evacuated from that area, and it has been deemed unsafe. Wow, take a look at that. Again, you can really tell just how strong the wind is getting in this area. I also have a wind speed gauge. When I checked just before you guys came out to me, the wind was at about 30 miles per hour. Of course, it's changing. As we go right now, it's just about 20 or so. So again, it just gives you an idea of just how much things are changing here. And again, Nicole is definitely getting closer. We can tell there's nobody really out here, which is a good thing, because obviously officials are asking people to stay home and stay safe if you don't have to be outside. Live tonight in Port Orange, Christy Kern, Fox 35 News.
Christy, thank you. You can definitely hear the wind on that microphone of hers. Thank you, Christy. A live look now at Flagler Beach. The waves are really ripping right there. We have more breaking coverage tracking Hurricane Nicole after the break.
Well, people throughout Central Florida watching the storm as, of course, we're all still recovering from Ian at this point.
Yeah, the Orla Vista area in Orange County was hit hard with flooding. Fox 35's Adam Shadoff spoke to one woman who's worried about living through this nightmare again.
It is a very nervous night here in Orla Vista at Janae Buford Johnson's house, because when you walk inside, the place is a total loss, devastating damage to this home after Hurricane Ian.
It's the hardest thing in the world to walk in here, to not have anything that I know or familiar with intact anymore. Everything is gone. There's nothing that can describe it. I have no words that puts that in perspective for me. This is total. There's nothing you can do with this. The water's all the way up, you know, and it's moldy, and the only thing that's safe on this house is the roof.
And now with this storm, Janae worries that the storm water could come up again, do the same thing as last time, and ruin any chance she has of saving this house whatsoever.
If it floods this neighborhood again, this house is done. I think the foundation is going to finally just continue to break open, because it's already some damage underneath here and it's not dried underneath the house. I feel like I'm in a nightmare that just won't end. There's not going to be enough money to do anything. I'm hearing different stories about FEMA not going to help us again. You know, people say they make, oh, you can get it back. No, it's not that easy to just get. You can't get back 50, 60, 70 years of stuff. You know, my mom died 20 years ago, almost 19 years ago, October the 6th, during the same time. So, and her biggest holiday was Thanksgiving. And this is the hardest because we would do everything here. So it's not easy.
Janae is hoping her house survives tonight and this storm, and then she can get back to trying to salvage what's left, going through the insurance process, and trying to rebuild her home. In Orla Vista, I'm Adam Shadoff, Fox 35 News.
I cannot imagine having to worry about this again.
Yeah, you got all this going on, right? And then you've also, we just looked at the outage map here. Brevard County is now like 3,200 households without power. So we saw the lights blinking here just a bit. So now we're getting into that phase where here we go with the real hurricane stuff.
Let's check back in with Brooks and Ian, and it's getting closer, guys, right?
He's coming.
Sure is. Yeah, we're working on last-minute graphics, guys. The back-to-back weather forecast. We got to do some stuff in the background sometimes. But yeah, we've been watching the latest, and the reason we're all business now is that we're starting to see the biggest effects impact the area. In fact, Ian, we've been watching the radar, and let's take a look at it right now. We've got what could be the first hurricane-force wind gusts on the way for Brevard County at this very moment. This downpour right now, heading for Melbourne and Satellite Beach and Palm Bay, is packing winds estimated by radar to exceed 75 miles per hour in gusts. They'll be isolated in nature. What I mean by that is that it's not the whole blob of orange here that's going to produce that gust. It's going to be like maybe a 1 mile within it. You know, this gust, this squall will no doubt produce widespread wind gusts to 50 or 60. But if you're sitting there with an anemometer, you know, a little thing, the cup thing that you measure the wind with, you'd have to be in the right place for this. But it's possible that Palm Bay gets it, Satellite Beach, maybe down toward Malabar, be the first hurricane wind gust of this storm in our viewing area. You know, we've been talking about some of the impacts, and Ian, I'm going to toss it over to you for some of this stuff, but we've been looking at the coast. We're also going to have some impacts inland, Seminole County. We're going to update these as well coming up, but let's get down to a couple things real quick. I got to jump off of this because we got to do something else here. Look at this camera here jumping around, this palm tree blowing in the wind at Daytona Beach. So we're starting to catch the real part of this hurricane coming in, and we've got some big tides ahead. Tomorrow before 9 a.m., we're going to see a high tide with an astronomically high tide as well tomorrow as a storm surge up to 5 feet. We had a high tide about 8:30. We've got another big tide coming in tomorrow morning. Even with the low tide at 2:30 this morning, the low tide, we're seeing a lot of overlapping and storm surge and stuff like that coming into the region. Hurricane warnings are in effect. That said, Ian, in Brevard County, it's getting bad. You got the Brevard County impacts there. We're timing it out also hour by hour for your county. So if you're in Brevard County, you're wondering, okay, it's bad now. How long is it going to be bad?
Yeah, that's a big question. And we are seeing already that potential for those winds, those strong winds. And in Brevard County, this is an area that's probably going to see the strongest winds, and we have a shower that has strong winds that we could just gust up to 75 miles per hour, and you're looking at when we're going to probably see the worst of it, well, it's right about to get going. We're probably going to be seeing those conditions deteriorate really quickly here in the next 30 minutes and then continuing through the night. So 5 a.m. is likely when it's going to peak. But after that, it will start to gradually wind down with the winds expected to drop off as the storm quickly juts off to the northwest. But 85-mile-per-hour wind gusts is a possibility in Brevard County. Now, farther to the west in Orange County, as the storm traverses to the west, we are going to see the worst conditions in Orange County likely through 5 to 9 a.m. So if you live in Maitland, if you live in Orlando and Wedgefield, you're going to see those worst conditions just around sunrise tomorrow and up to 75-mile-per-hour wind gusts. Those are hurricane-force wind gusts. With this, there also is the potential for 3 to 6 inches of rain. We've already gotten plenty of rain. We've already gotten a few inches of rain here in the last 24 hours. Well, we're going to get a lot more here as the storm moves to the northwest and brings that shield of rain with it. Lake County farther to the west, we're likely to see us through 5 and 9 a.m. So we are going to have some difficult conditions here through the night. You're just going to have to bear with it, hunker down, and we will likely see these winds through at least the first part of tomorrow. By the afternoon, we'll start to see that gradual improvement, especially if you are to the southeast, the areas that are hardest hit. You'll get hopefully a break there late into the afternoon when things will improve. And Brooks, it seems that we have Mother Nature joining us in more ways than one here.
You can't see it, but I had to capture a frog that jumped into the building. But that's the thing about these systems is they can bring out the wildlife. I'm going to put them outside in a second here. But we got a coastal storm surge up to 5 feet. And so with the high tides coming in about 9 a.m. plus the wave action, I mean, the big legacy of Nicole is going to be the coastal impacts. We're going to have this of wind in the early morning hours. It's going to perturb a lot of things, not just the wildlife. So heads up, get ready for power outages. And coming up, we're going to take a look at the hurricane's landfall. That's happening inside of the next 45 minutes. Guys, back to you.
All right, get rid of that frog. Take it out back. Thank you, Brooks. Fox 35 storm team will continue to work around the clock tracking Hurricane Nicole. And both of our storm team meteorologists and the crews out in the field are also tweeting their latest and videos. So just search Fox 35 Orlando on Twitter. Make sure you follow our accounts, and we'll keep you up to speed no matter if we're in studio or out in the field. We'll be right back.
Don't get caught off guard. Depend on the Fox 35 storm team.
Well, people near downtown Sanford are still dealing with severe flooding from Hurricane Ian, and conditions are getting worse there once again.
Yeah, so much rain up here again right now, and the water in Lake Monroe is really rough outside. Fox 35's Jessica Ely has more on the conditions near the Sanford Marina tonight.
I'm at the downtown Sanford Marina, where they saw a lot of flooding during Hurricane Ian. Anticipation for that is coming in this hurricane also. As you can see, the flooding is already starting. The water is rising. There's puddles right here on the sidewalk area. And in the marina area, the water is rising also. The boats are swaying because the wind is picking up here. So the boats are swaying, the trees are swaying. There's also the road right here that runs parallel to the marina. It is closed, and that is probably in anticipation for the flooding that happened. Now, that flood waters, they just started to recede not too long ago. So this is an area that was hard hit during Hurricane Ian, and they are preparing for the same thing to happen again. So like I said, the road is closed right here, and the wind is starting to pick up here at the downtown Sanford Marina. In Sanford, Jessica Ely, Fox 35 News.
Thanks a lot, Jessica. And there are your live views outside tonight. A few power outages across Central Florida right now. Not too much at this point, but again, the eye is expected to hit the Florida coast in just about 30 minutes or so, and the effects being felt up and down the East Coast. So again, we have a lot more coming up on our extended coverage here on Fox 35 of the hurricane.
Welcome back. We're getting closer to Hurricane Nicole making landfall just to our south.
Yeah, you know what? It's funny because we were looking over some of the things happening this weekend. You got the big electric
EDC,
daisy.
yep,
Yeah, huge.
EDC.
It's all set up downtown. Volusia County Fair is set up just up up north. So, Brooks, these winds could complicate things a little bit going into the weekend.
You know, if there's any good news, it's that it's going to run in and run out. It's not going to be like Ian, where it takes 2 days to get through here. It's going to be about a 6 to 8 hour long hurricane. It really gets kicking off in about an hour here at the coast and about 4 or 5 5 in the morning as you head inland. Nicole, right now, winds at 75. It is a Cat 1, and it's set to make landfall inside of the next hour or so. Likely at this point, the center of the cone being right over the Indian River County Vero Beach area, maybe down toward Jensen Beach. And then by 7 o'clock in the morning, setting up somewhere around Yeehaw Junction and then heading northward. Now, that path would miss Orlando as far as the actual eye pushing over, but there's still potential that it goes a little bit farther north. That said, the impacts are much the same. This is a pretty large system as far as the wind goes. So, I mean, even if it was to make landfall down in West Palm, we'd still be catching really impactful wind gusts over 60 miles an hour. It's a huge storm. A lot of rain with it too, but not as much rain as Ian as far as it's moving. It's not going to stall. We're not looking at catastrophic inland flooding, but we will have some pretty serious nuisance flooding with up to 6 inches of rain falling over the next 12 hours. That's going to be enough to cause some issues for sure, but just not as bad as Ian. That said, the big legacy of Nicole is going to be the coastal flooding. We've got a high tide tomorrow morning close to 9 a.m., big battering waves, a 5-foot storm surge, astronomically higher tides. But follow me on this. This is the future radar of the eye wall at 3:30 in the morning. Right now, we're already catching wind gusts of 70 miles an hour at India Atlantic. That was just reported. As this comes up in the next 2 hours, we're going to start to see wind gusts over 85 miles per hour. Is happening in Brevard County. That'll then work up into Seminole County and Orange County around about 5:30 in the morning. So we're getting all this rain, some breeze, and a couple wind gusts, but the real stuff comes in right before dawn tomorrow and then pushes toward the villages by 7:45 in the morning. And then the system moves out, and so we're in the clear in the beaches from the really bad stuff as far as the wind goes by mid-morning. And in Orlando, that'll happen shortly after lunchtime. That said, it's going to take a while for the sea to calm down and the storm surge to calm down. We have another high tide tomorrow evening that could be a really impactful one. Storm surge, in case you didn't know, this is the normal tide height right here. It rises up 5-6 feet with astronomically high tides, even higher than that. Then the big battering waves come in and start to really pound and potentially destroy structures in its path. Hurricane Ian 6 weeks ago annihilated most of the dunes and other protective beach features that stop the water, and so there's no buffer. This is coming ashore, and the outer edge of the eye wall now is lapping up against, it looks like, St. Lucie County and Martin County, heading down toward Palm County. Look at that right there, the outer eye wall. So that's where we're going to start to see the big winds here from Jupiter up through Jensen, up through Hobe Sound, and this stuff right here, by the way, is packing hurricane force winds, but the actual sustained hurricane gusts will be relegated to the eye wall feature itself right here, and that's something we're tracking. But this downpour moving into Satellite Beach right now could be packing winds over 70 miles an hour, maybe up to hurricane force winds. So Ray and John, we were talking about the big tides ahead. Tomorrow morning about 9 a.m., that's the big tide to watch for Volusia, Brevard, and Flagler counties. That's one where we could get that combination of the storm surge, the higher than normal tides, and the wave action, and that could do a real number. I think what we're going to find tomorrow morning is when we wake up and we get the first light of dawn, the damage will reveal itself, and it's only going to get worse for a few hours before it gets better.
All right, thanks a lot, Brooks.
And those are the times that are going to be pivotal to see if we have any of that erosion take place along the coast.
That's the key. We'll see you tomorrow morning. All right, Fox 35's Valerie Boy has been riding along with law enforcement in Volusia County today. She's out in their high water vehicle, looking to see if anybody needs help out there.
She joins us live now. Val, how is it looking out there?
Hey there, it's getting real windy. In fact, take a look over here at Dunlawton Boulevard and Atlantic Avenue. You can actually see the water and the wind going over the street, and it is very hard to be standing out here. And I'm actually underneath part of the condominium here. I'm gonna go right by the wall here. See, it's like a whole tunnel. Get right by this wall, and look, I can stand up straight. Anyway, we're gonna have you take a look here near the water. There's the beach safety building. You can see the bathrooms that have collapsed over there. The Atlantic is really, obviously, real choppy. The surf is high. The wind is so strong, it's got to be, like Katie was saying, 50 miles per hour. Every time I stick my head out here past the wall, it feels like bee stings hitting my face. So you definitely don't want to be out here. Earlier this evening, I actually talked to a property manager regarding the evacuations and the hurricane. Take a listen.
We are on the edge constantly. These properties, with that seawall coming down, it puts every property. You have absentee owners that don't live here. We're having to contact, communicate with them, and the weather's just downhill.
Ian here in Daytona Beach Shores. 12 properties, 12 buildings have been deemed unsafe. Deputies were going door to door telling them to leave the premises because it just wasn't safe for them. Also earlier this evening we went out with deputies on a water safety truck, and so they were going from street to street to street, just checking to see if there's any flooding. Earlier this evening we didn't see any flooding, but they continue to patrol to make sure they're watching the conditions. And again, you can see, I mean, I'm underneath the building here and it's still really hard to stand. Back to you guys.
All right, thank you, Valerie. And you know, of course, I think what we're all going to remember is what the Volusia County Sheriff said earlier this afternoon, that it's just a matter of time. It's not if, it's when.
And I think that shocked all of us because, you know, we've lived through so many hurricanes, and he says some of these buildings may come down, we got to evacuate. And even he was getting blown around. He's a big dude.
Yeah,
the sheriff is a big dude, so he was getting blown around in that storm too.
Well, the Fox 35 Storm Team Thunder Truck is on the road tracking conditions in Brevard County.
And that's where we find Fox 35's Dave Puglisi. He is out there live. So Dave, you guys have been driving around, heading towards the eye of this storm. So what are you seeing right now?
Yeah, right now we're in a pretty good spot for where we want to be for the rest of the night. We're trying to find the best spot to give you the best view of this storm. Right now we're on Pineapple Avenue in Melbourne, and take a look. The winds and rains are really coming down now. You can see the rain just being blown around through the parking lot. The trees are moving. It's really coming down where we're at. We're just trying to find the best place to be to safely get out of this truck and show you what it's looking like. Right on the other side of that big building in front of us, which is called the Pineapple House, is the ocean, and right next to that, where we're panning now, is the Yaguli Boulevard, which takes you right into Indian Harbor Beach, which is just south of Satellite Beach, which is where this storm is coming. So that boulevard, which actually is more like a causeway, which goes over, that is closed. So there's a lot of wind, lot of rain. We're going to get out here. We're going to show you what it looks like. We're just trying to find the best spot for you guys to get a good look at this storm safely, but it definitely has picked up. It's not like that light wind and rain we were seeing earlier. The rain and winds are getting serious, and we're about a half hour from when this storm's going to hit. So it's going to be a wild ride the rest of the night, and we'll be here to show you everything from the Fox 35 Storm Team Thunder Truck. I'm Dave Puglisi. Back to you in the studio.
Yeah, wind's going to get stronger too. All right, people in our inland counties dealt with really the horrible flooding after Hurricane Ian just 6 weeks ago, maybe less.
The time just all meshes together. Now they're getting ready for another round of heavy rain and high winds from Hurricane Nicole. Fox 35's Justin Matthews spoke with families in Wauchula.
This neighborhood in Wauchula is right up against the Peace River, and after Hurricane Ian, the flooding was so bad, the water level would have been up to about my calf from where I'm standing right here. So a lot of the homes here were badly damaged. Food, clothes, and various supplies in piles. This is what Doyle Statton's home looks like right now. He and his family are trying to get back to normal after flooding from Hurricane Ian was so bad it displaced them. Their Wauchula home is under about 2 feet of water, and now they have Hurricane Nicole making its way to the region. The Stattons say they are as ready as they can be, with things like sandbags being laid out and securing anything on their property that could blow away in high winds.
We got it tied down outside. Anything could happen. You could get a tornado out of the deal and the whole house be gone. But by the grace of God, we'll slip through this one too. So, you know, we're not looking forward to it. Actually, it kind of aggravated us a little bit, 30 days and here comes another one.
Now they wait.
Whatever comes, whatever goes, we're not running. So it's been a time or two I wish I would have, but we're not running on this one. This here is just a baby coming, but a baby can do a lot of damage at times.
This is what their neighborhood looked like after Hurricane Ian. The Peace River's water levels rose well into the Riverview Heights subdivision. Neighbors say they feel prepared for the upcoming storm because Hurricane Ian was so recent.
We still have a lot of supplies from before, so we are just gonna see what we can do from here. It's definitely not as big as Ian was, so we are grateful for that, but it's still coming to us, so we still got to prepare the same way, whatever kind of big it is.
As Hurricane Ian approaches Florida, neighbors here tell me they are just crossing their fingers that they don't experience any damage after Hurricane Nicole. Reporting in Wauchula, Justin Matthews, Fox 35 News.
All right, let's take another live look right now at Flagler Beach. You can see that is the pier right there on the left-hand side. Big time surf. These waves have been up to 20 feet high, some of them even going over the pier. Pier was significantly damaged back in Ian, but it was going to come down anyway. We're waiting to see how much more comes down. But the view you're looking at right now, that's A1A going down that way. The light just came on, you can see. Big waves. We're hoping to see that A1A does survive this storm tonight. We have much more tracking Hurricane Nicole straight ahead here on Fox 35. It's the battle for the governor's mansion.
Fox 35 News was there, bringing Central Florida live results.
Governor Ron DeSantis as the winner.
Tracking the polls.
It's one of the most talked about races.
The issues important to you.
The economy and crime were the two big motivators.
All from a team you can trust. Depend on it. Fox 35 News. Depend on us.
This rain continues.
When weather is at its worst and best, trust the power and experience of the Fox 35 Storm Team and Fox Weather.
All right, the Halifax River in Port Orange already flowing over the streets and approaching some of the neighborhoods. That, by the way, if you're thinking Halifax, where is that? It's part of the Intracoastal Waterway.
Fox 35's Christy Kern is live there. And Christy, I know last time you showed us that water lapping over onto the sidewalk there. How's it looking now?
Yeah, Ray John, this is the worst that we've seen it. We've been here all night, and go ahead and take a look. The lights did turn off here since we last talked to you, so hopefully you can still see what this looks like. I checked the wind speeds right before we came on, and they were about 30 miles per hour, which really in the big picture is not much for storms like this. Obviously, this is only going to get worse, but take a look at this water right now. It's only 30-mile-an-hour winds, and this is how intense it is. The Halifax River, it's coming right up onto the concrete here. And the wind is really ripping it around, and definitely run for our money out here, I'd say. Daytona Beach Shores is right across the way from here, and obviously that's the area where people have been evacuated from, and it's been unsafe. I did talk to a lot of people in this area earlier today in Orange, and it's kind of a mixed bag. A lot of people obviously are still recovering from the even so. We asked people are staying, if they're ask, some people are playing it safe. Some people say this is just a storm and we're going to figure it out. But the Halifax River in some areas has already overflowed into the streets and the neighborhoods. Of course, this is something that we're keeping our eye on as Nicole gets closer tonight.
Hear the wind on that microphone. It is really picking up.
Kicking up right there. Yeah, coming across the bay there. It's a mess over there.
Yeah. We're getting closer to Hurricane Nicole making landfall just to our south.
And we guys, boy, we've been talking a long time today, haven't we? Do we know where exactly it's going to come ashore at this point, guys?
We have a pretty good idea. Already, Ian and I have been looking at the radar right now. Wall is approaching Jensen Beach at this point and headed up toward Fort Pierce. We've also been looking at the wind gusts really increasing. We're going to talk about the impacts here. Let's get right to it. Here's the latest. Winds at 75 miles an hour, set to make landfall here inside of the next probably half hour to an hour. It's just about where that eye wall comes ashore. We're already having the eye wall scrape the shore at this moment in time. By tomorrow morning, it's likely to be sitting over the Polk County, Osceola County line, but all the while sending hurricane force wind gusts into Orlando. And for a big chunk of the day tomorrow, it's going to be up in the Nature Coast. It actually slows down for just a hair, so places like Levy County could see wind between about 9 in the morning until 4 in the afternoon. But for most of us at the coast, the onset of the worst happening about right now, peaking between 3 and 7. And it'll be a real hurricane. You know, we're getting those winds 60, 70, 80 miles an hour up to 90 in gusts. It'll dissipate after 9 a.m. That is the wind. At the coast, it's less about the wind and more about the storm surge. At 9 a.m., unfortunately, the storm surge will be peaking as the high tide comes in. So at the coast tomorrow, even though the winds will start to drop, the storm surge will just get going. Inland around Orlando, the worst beginning about 5 a.m. It peaks between 6 and 9 in the morning, and it will start to dissipate, the wind that is, after 11 a.m. So this is essentially a morning hurricane event for most inland areas. Future radar doing a good job showing that eye wall coming ashore, and you can kind of see where it heads as we head toward almost 7 in the morning. It'll be just south of Orlando, but you know, here's the center. The weather maker, the part of the storm is producing the really bad stuff, is actually offset from the center. a good 30 miles. So it's going to be up around Sanford and DeLand and Tavares and Eustis, and then heading west toward the villages. That northern eye wall is the biggest factor of this thing. And as it pushes away, we'll still get some wind and rain, but it just won't be quite as intense. Winds right now gusting to 64 in Titusville, 43 in Daytona. We've had a verified wind gust now of 70 miles an hour. So a lot of wind is pushing ashore. That's going to produce a storm surge here as we head into the next 6 hours. And as the tide comes up, so too will the waves, and it's going to push up about 6 to 7 feet higher than normal, and it's going to do a lot of damage to coastal properties. There's been talk by officials, especially in Volusia County and up into Flagler County, of dozens of structures in jeopardy of collapse, and they've gone about and done the evacuations and let people know who they believe are in the path of said possible collapses. You know, huge heads up to get out of there, right, to encourage them. Power outages have been relegated to the coast so far, about 2,000 of them south into Brevard County. But here's a look at Daytona Beach. The winds are really whipping there in Daytona Beach. Let's check out where the eye wall is right now. Here's Cocoa and Palm Bay. They're getting the outermost eye wall, but the inner eye wall where most of the heavy wind is, that is the sustained winds of hurricane force now lapping up against Port St. Lucie, and that's going to be in St. Lucie County. And those winds, let's zoom in. We've actually picked them up here on our Fox 35 Storm Tracker radar. Here's the eye wall. You can see the western edge of it right up through Fort Pierce. So it'll be a landfall when the center of this thing actually comes ashore. The question is, does it go straight in or does it stay over water a little bit longer and head up toward Vero or possibly even Brevard County? Meanwhile, all the stuff out ahead of it, all this heavy rain, this is going to produce gusts over 60, maybe 70 miles an hour. You know, Ian, we're talking about impacts. We've got some pretty significant impacts in Volusia County happening right now. When does it get worse in Volusia, and when will folks in Volusia be able to let their guard down a little bit?
Will be a late night event for Volusia already. It's late night, and it's going to be through the morning. So we are going to have some rough conditions expelled along the coastline, running all the way from Flagler to the south, even going up to the north. They're going to be experiencing those storm surge from this storm. So 3 to 10 a.m., that's the peak time for Volusia County. Winds up to 60 miles per hour, might even have stronger wind gusts than that occasionally. Maybe not as much rain, but that coastal storm surge really going to do a number to Volusia County, where we've had that those compromised structures from Ian, now getting another storm expected here tonight. Seminole County, 4 a.m. to 9 a.m., a little bit closer inland. What to expect, up to 75-mile-per-hour wind gusts. We may have hurricane-force winds in Seminole County through the morning. If you were planning your day, you're not going to want to leave the home before and around sunrise. It's not until late into the afternoon that things will really improve. But Marion County, we could still get up to 70-mile-per-hour wind gusts there to the north in Ocala and Bellevue, and that would be through 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. So this is going to be, depending on where you're at, either an overnight to early morning event or a late morning to afternoon event. And Brooks, just depends on where you're located, how long this event will be.
Yeah, we're going to continue to track it, and we're going to get several inches of rain as well. Thankfully, as far as inland impacts go, this is no Ian. We're not going to get catastrophic flooding, but with 3 to 6 inches of rain, we will have plenty of nuisance flooding. Our continuing coverage of Hurricane Nicole making landfall right now continues after this break.
All right, check out this video we just got into the newsroom. It shows a powerful wave destroying part of a pier. This was taken by one of Deerfield Beach's webcam. That's, of course, down south, Broward County. And, man, big-time wave coming up over there. And when it comes up on the left-hand side of the screen, you can see some of the wood look like it's looks like coming right up. Yeah, we're seeing a lot of right there. Seeing a lot of that up and down the coast right now. And, of course, the coast at this point going to take the brunt of Nicole, but we're going to feel the impacts inland as well.
Yeah, this is flooding in Seminole County and Geneva. That area is still flooded from Ian, and Nicole's just going to make things worse. Yeah. Fox 35's Christy Kern was out there in that neighborhood talking to people earlier.
The rain is starting to come down in Geneva, and this is on Whitcomb Drive, and the rain is already flooding this already flooded street that's been like this since Hurricane Ian more than a month ago. This is all coming from Lake Harney, which is just down the road here. The waves there starting to pick up speed, and the water is making its way onto the road that, again, is already flooded. This is just the beginning for this area, but people who live here say it's not just the beginning for them. These homes were devastated by Hurricane Ian more than a month ago. There are not a lot of people around here, but I did speak with one woman who was out walking her dog. She says she and her family just got back into their home just last week after it was flooded out for more than a month from Hurricane Ian. She says they're not really sure what their plan is for this storm.
We are still like kind of in denial that we're going to have to go through this again. So last time we lost power, water, and septic, so we had to move out. So this time we're not sure if our water is going to hold. So if if we lose power, then we'll probably stay as long as we can.
That woman I spoke with says she's not just concerned about the rain adding to the flooding in this area. She's also concerned about the wind because she says she has a lot of debris in her yard and she's worried about the wind picking that up and blowing it all around. Reporting in Geneva, Christy Curran, Fox 35 News.
And just like she was talking about, Nicole putting a lot of pressure on these flood-prone communities.
That's especially true in Orange County, where officials are running behind on flood mitigation projects. Fox 35's Randy Hildreth is in Orla Vista, where they've been waiting years for officials to fix flooding there.
Some who live in Orla Vista lost everything to Hurricane Irma in 2017.
We opened the door and the water was to our knees.
This is video from our archived files. Our Holly Bristow interviewed Cynthia Slaughter as crews cleared out her home. And then we met her again this October as she addressed county commissioners after Ian hit.
I have lost everything. Again.
Almost a month since that meeting and 5 years since Irma, flood mitigation construction has still not started. The county has until February 2024 to complete the project to deepen 3 retention ponds there.
We've asked FEMA if there was going to be an extension. They won't commit. There may be.
And if this massive project is not done, the money allocated could be gone. Between 2018 and 2022, the county got over $7 million from FEMA, but the lowest construction bid was $21.5 million.
Was it possible to use some of the money that you had to start on at least one of the ponds in the community?
Creating a little storage might help a little bit, but for the storm volumes and the rain volumes that we've been experiencing, you need the total volume.
The county says it was also delayed over a year because of an environmental study required by FEMA. But the folks who have lived through this twice say they're running out of time and patience.
I want to know so that my 4-year-old granddaughter will stop asking, Nana, is your house floating away?
Randy Hildreth, Fox 35 News.
Well, thousands of FEMA workers are still working around the state to help people from Hurricane Ian.
Yeah, and we talked with one FEMA coordinator about the exact kind of help that they can give people once the hurricane passes.
We have over 2,500 FEMA staff in the state at the moment, and they are ready to also transition to any response and recovery that is needed for the Hurricane Nicole operation. This could include disaster survivor assistance teams that will canvass neighborhoods and register individuals and families for FEMA assistance. We can bring in hundreds of staff very quickly, and we have multiple disasters that are operating all over the country right now. We always seem to meet the challenge, and we always have staff that are willing to help.
Yeah, so they already had the staff here, which is good. And also, what, Duke has about 4,000 people, 5,000 linemen here. OUC has quite a few. Florida Power and Light has 13,000. It's a good thing they were here, Ray, for the last storm.
And we're already starting to see those power outages. We have about 3,000 people without power in Brevard County. So those numbers are only expected to go up as Hurricane Nicole gets closer to our shoreline.
Yep, and we're tracking it. There's our views from some of the cameras in downtown. You can't really see the wind, obviously, from that angle, but you can see on all of our cameras now, significant rain is coming down across the state of Florida. All right, we'll have much more right after this here on Fox 35.